was all gold.
I know. That's right.
What is going on, everybody? It's Jason and Justin. Today we're joined by Levi and Lisa. Guys, how are you doing today?
We're good so far.
How are you?
After some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Just par for the course with post-pandemic age.
Yeah,
It's
the
awesome.
after time. But before we get into talking about the short, because I definitely want to talk about the short, I gotta ask you, or my podcasting friends will not be happy. What was it like working on Venture Brothers?
It was so fun and imaginative and crazy. It was such a crazy time. Of course, you know, I was married to Doc, and so I was there from the genesis of the whole idea. And just seeing the way that he and Chris Jackson Public just started meshing. But, you know, they had been working together since, because we were friends with Ben Edlund from The Tick as well, since like the 80s. So the three of them are always just like, you know, crazy, going in the corner at parties and having all these crazy ideas and working with each other and pulling me in for stuff. And it was just a magical time. It was really great.
It's awesome. Good to hear.
How'd you guys meet each other?
Blind date.
It was a blind date, yeah. It was like, so basically I was living in LA and I was hanging out. I was going to like this crazy sort of like weird Scientology adjacent acting school.
We didn't know it
like
at
a
the
scene
time.
study class.
Yeah, we didn't know it at the time.
And
It was crazy.
I hope Leah Remini can save me from whatever I'm about to say. So basically, like, but I had made like, you know, friends with this woman who was also there, who was a musician. She's in the Januaries, this band from like the 90s.
Debbie Diamond, not to be confused with the porn star. Her name is actually Debbie Diamond, but she calls herself Debbie Diamond.
Right, yeah.
Amazing musician, really.
Great singer.
Great
She's
singer,
like,
really just like a rude New York chick. Totally hit it off with her. One of my best friends. Just smart, mean, funny.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
so like we were just like friends and like in LA, and Lisa was still in New York at the time. And then God, what was it? It was like you were like, you came to visit.
I came to visit, and my marriage was ending. You know, we had been together since like high school. And my friend Debbie was like, you have to like meet someone and like start dating. And I was like, I have never been on a date. I've been married since I was like right out of high school. So I said no. And then she sort of turned her computer and showed me his picture. And I was like,
Maybe.
To be fair, it was a very good headshot.
Yeah,
So
good.
it was like the same photographer who used to do like Sam Jackson and all these like celebrities I just happened to find
Yeah.
in like the phone book back when you used the phone book.
it worked.
So
It's funny, Lisa. I'm telling you, it's when you don't want anybody or you're not looking is when it strikes you. Because I went through something similar. I went through a breakup last October, and then in December, my uncle's like, "We got to introduce you to this lady I work with," and it's one of the best relationships I've ever been in. I didn't want to even want to date anybody. Like it was not even on my radar. I'm like, fine, we'll get together, we'll watch a movie, whatever, it'll be fine, and then I'll go about my day. But yeah,
That's my only advice to people who are looking. You have to stop looking and be like not looking for real, not just faking it, but really, I really, really, really wanted to be alone.
it's like the Buddhism of dating is what it is. Because I was also in the middle of just like not. I think I went on one date like back when online dating was like about to start, and there was this. Did you guys? I don't know how old you guys are, but I don't know if you remember this like weird kind of website that was trying to start up. That was like a community website and it's kind of a news website. It was like pre-Friendster, pre-MySpace. It was called The Nerve.
I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it was like early 2000, and it had a small kind of side section that was like almost kind of forum-y, like Facebook-y, and people of like similar interests and blah 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 could like hang out and talk to each other and stuff like that. And I went on like one like weird little, I mean, it was fine. We didn't, you know, get anywhere, and but it was like one little like online date, you know, that was like not harmony.com. It, you know, yeah, it didn't go anywhere. And then like, I was just like, you know what, I got to focus on, I moved to LA, man. I got to like focus on the shit.
You focused on your shit. That's awesome. That's
Exactly.
good. And you got a girlfriend. That's awesome.
Well, before we get into the short, I got one more question. What made you guys want to get into this field?
Well,
Because you guys both do a little bit of everything, it looks like.
I do. Yeah, we do. Oh my God, we do. I think we both have a theater background.
Mhm.
As a youngster, I studied theater, opera, all that stuff. And then when I got to Emerson College on a theater scholarship, I saw the theater department kids on the front steps doing jazz hands to like on Broadway. And I looked, and I was super goth, and I looked at it, and I just turned on my heel, and I went right to the film department and signed up. I'd never touched a camera. I knew nothing about filmmaking, but I was like, no.
Did you just turn in your scholarship? Be like, I saw the jazz hands. I don't know.
They didn't even know. They didn't care. They didn't even know.
Yeah, you zip zap zapped your way out of it. I get it.
They had like the scarf that's piano keys,
Oh my
and
God.
like the ballerinas, doing their plies on the fence. No.
Zip zap zap. I literally was
No.
just talking to somebody about zip zap zap the other day.
Oh God, never
So
again.
funny.
Never again.
I actually like started because like so like when I was a kid in like I think I was in 4th grade was when The Princess Bride came out, and like I was like so obsessed with that movie that I like was like reading whatever I could about it, and then I found out that like Mandy Patinkin and Carrie Elwes had learned how to fence for the movie. Like they were like, we had to learn how to fence, and that way we could actually just like really fence and do it for real. And if you watch the movie and it's like they're fencing, they're not like doing like this like crazy choreographed thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, something in my head was just like they got to like get paid to learn how to fence, and now they just know how to fence, right? And I don't know. And then I used to like watch this show that came out on I think it was like WGN or like one of the Chicago stations back in the day that was just called I think it was just called Special Effects or something like that. And they would like interview all of these people who did special effects for movies and stuff. And it was like kind of like a weekly half-hour thing, and I would watch that like all the time. And I was just like, I just want to do filmmaking stuff. So
But then you got into theater because there was no film department.
yeah, basically. Well, that's a long story, and you guys can edit this however you want. But like,
oh, it's all in. It's all in.
Oh, it's all okay. Well, here we go. I like. So they interviewed this guy on there, and it was oh my God, what was that movie? It was like this rom-com about this like guy who like dies and goes to heaven, but then they're like, oh, you got to go back and do something. And like it's fall in love, or like get this person to fall in love with this guy, and that way you can go to heaven. One of those like very typical sort of like late 80s rom-com type of thing.
It was like Heaven Can Wait. That was a
Heaven Can Wait. Yep, that's what it is. I was Googling it.
And he was like the guy that they interviewed like had the like made the miniatures because they had to do like a neighborhood and like do a pan up into like heaven with the clouds and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, I made all these things. And on the bottom of the chyron under his name, it said mechanical engineer. And I was like, and my parents didn't want me, like my mother she was an actress and stuff in Thailand. And like, she was like, and the whole family did theater back then. But she was always just like, you do not go into the entertainment industry. And I was like, oh, so in my head. So when I saw that, I was like, I will go into mechanical engineering. Right? So that's what I did.
That's awesome.
After 2 years, I was like, fuck this. And I like dropped out and like looked for a film school. There was no film school. So I found a theater department. And then I did that.
It's hard back then. It was the beginning of everything.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you have a favorite special effect then? Like if you're really like in the mechanical side of it, do you have like a favorite thing? Like something a movie did or something you've done or anything like that?
I mean, I've always loved practical effects.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've always preferred practical effects. So anything that was like, like with aliens and stuff, like I love the idea that like, you just build this like model to this like, of like the Nostromo or something like that, of like the degree detail you know, and you put the little like poke
Yeah.
the little holes in there for like the lights and, you know, all this stuff. And then you just take a camera with like, you know, from a distance and just, it just looks like it's real. And you just superimpose it to whatever. And then,
Yeah. I love miniatures and models.
yeah, the miniatures have always been,
Oh
I've
my
always
God.
loved. The funny part is that I don't even know if we've ever used miniatures.
I did one for my I did a film with Ben and Doc, late 80s, early 90s. It was Puss Bucket.
What a good name. What a good name.
First movie ever made. And I hadn't even seen Ghostbusters yet because he says Mother Puss Bucket. I got the name from Bucket of Blood.
Oh yeah.
So Ben and Doc made this little miniature house with little and drew the night sky behind it, and we took a car model and glued it together and put a tube, and Doc was blowing cigarette smoke through the tube, and it had an alien going over the little house and blowing the roof off.
if you guys want to like get into like a real deep cut of just like crazy completionist like film geek kind of stuff, like watch that movie. It's been compared to like Eraserhead, you know, like it's that crazy.
It's nowhere near as good as anything David Lynch could have done. It's like the worst. We were just dicking around.
That's what makes it awesome.
Like you'll see Doc doing musical numbers and killing people and collecting
the pus harvester. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, because the aliens visit them. They're very religious, and it's a Judas and corned beef for the brothers, and they live in the middle of nowhere, and they're very religious. And the aliens is watching them as they watch televangelists, and like, oh, well, we should just pose as like the Virgin Mary. So they visit them in the living room as the Virgin Mary, and they need pus to run their spaceship, so they talk them into killing people and collecting the pus.
It's almost like I come in peace, right? It's like
stupid. But I have like VHS geek collector geek clubs, all like trying to like get copies of my. Film Threat used to distribute the VHS. Oh, there it is. Yeah. I'm streaming it on my VHS channel. You go on to lisahammer.com. You'll see a little square that says Puss Bucket, and it'll bring you to where it's streaming.
So let's be honest. Did you expect to talk about Puss Bucket today? Like, it's like randomly. Just like,
I did not. I never thought I'd speak about it again.
That's awesome.
But it keeps coming back to haunt me. My terrible like lack of talent and stupidity.
All right, maybe let's talk about your short. Let's get away from the fussiness of.
Did I mention I shot the whole thing in Super 8 black and white film?
That's sweet. That's cool though. That's sweet.
And then after I cut it, I had to get a job at an S&M video company to use the free editing on the weekend. So I had to like edit these like S&M videos that the FBI was coming to raid us for.
Oh man.
And there were like body parts in the garbage and like coked out hookers in the office. Like it was crazy. And my manager was a dwarf.
I need a lot more context than the words you just said.
You're getting context. This is context.
Yeah, that's fair. I need context in the context. I need a bucket full of context, please.
You need less context.
You need less context.
And more Adderall.
So I finished editing it, and we didn't have really any sound. So we just sat around, like all of us sat around after it was cut and just foleyed the whole thing. And we're like, let's walk over here, corned beef. And then
That's awesome.
So Levi, you got any fun stories from your part?
Any buckets in your past?
Man, I don't even know. I feel like some of the stories are like almost like I don't even know if I can even tell them.
What about the producer that gave you his card and he's like, listen, I really think you should be.
Wait, yeah. There's like, I met this guy when I first moved to LA, and like he was like, and he just literally lived in the apartment like underneath me, you know, and we were just chill and talk, and he was just like, it's like, oh yeah, I work at CBS Radford. You should like come and hang and stuff like that. And I was always like too busy or too stupid. And like, and at like one point I did finally, like, I was like on my way somewhere, and Stevie S. Radford's in like Studio City, so like I was like driving through and I was like, hey, I'm like nearby, like can I like come by? And he's like, oh, I don't work there anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. And in my head I was like, missed opportunity. And then I saw him again like soon after that, and he was just like, oh yeah, I like work up in Calabasas now. And I was like, huh? And he gives me his card, and it's like he like became a porn producer. And he was like, hey, if you ever want to do porn, just give me a call. And I was like,
what a compliment. Yeah, like, hey, you can do porn.
I might have edited your porn.
It's possible.
But I mean, it's fun to hear those beginning stories, because now you guys got something on AMC Plus. So tell us.
Oh
about
my
that.
God!
Yeah.
If they ever hear any of this,
I know. Like, there's literally like a couple stories where I'm like, I don't think I can actually tell this story.
Oh,
like the Bahamas one. I was like, I can't tell that story.
Don't get yourself in trouble, please.
Yeah. There's too many famous people involved, so I like literally.
Oh my God.
Lisa was there. She knows.
I was there. I saw the whole thing. Things
But
happened.
yeah, we got this thing on AMC, which I'm pretty like. I'm pretty proud of. I have to say so.
Yeah, it's for kids.
It's for
we might have to edit some of this to make it make sense. I said we're editing. We might edit some stuff.
We're never gonna get to the short film,
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
We won't direct this interview to any minors. This is for after hours and
That's right.
midnight only. This will be for like the
We'll have a
super
banner. Yeah.
collectors. Yeah.
That's right. That's awesome.
When did you lose this interview? Let's go. All right.
When it started. Bucket of pus was when we lost it. Bring it back. Sweet. But AMC Plus? All right, let's talk about it. Let's do it.
That happened. Yeah. It
Great
was like really
platform.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. We were just like, we made this, we made this short film. And honestly, like, I was thinking, like, I was just trying to make something that was like fine, right? I was just like, it was a proof of concept that we're working into making it into a feature film. And it was literally just like, I wasn't trying to hit it out of the park. I was like, let's make a movie that's just like, a nice story with like, just really great production value, and just like, and tells like a very, like a sweet story that's not too, I don't know, like, I don't want to say like it's not like an in your face like a racism and this and that, but I didn't want it to be about that. I wanted it to be about like these two kids.
You don't want to have it pounded into your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to see where we started out, and like having it get on like a really good platform is like, it's really great. It's really like, I don't even know how I can describe how much I appreciate like the response that it's gotten. It's it feels great. So
it's weird because I always knew it would, because when I first read this, anytime I've ever read anything of Levi's, I've just been like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're amazing. And my mom would read his stuff, and one of her favorite things that she read of his was called Hanuman Catering, and it was autobiographical. It was an animation that he still has in his collection, that we haven't done that yet. But it was about him and his mother, and the way their relationship, and their conflict. And my mom was like, this is the one. Levi needs to tell his story. That's the one that's going to go. And she was right.
Yeah. So it was basically like, after the pandemic, and we were trying to just figure out like, we got to do something. And we kind of bounced around a few ideas, and some of them were like weird, dreamy kind of horror type things, or like I don't even know, like just like psychological
weird shit,
weird shit, like dreamy stuff, magical realism kind of things.
Yeah.
And at some point I was like, well, why don't we just do this one? Because we had the whole deal with like, the Asian hate stuff that was happening, and and I was like, maybe this is the time to do this. So we just like pooled all the resources, pulled all the favors,
Everything
and
good.
got everything together and and made this. And we were lucky enough to be able to like have all the people that we got do this, because it's not easy to film something at this level, at any level. But like, when we first started calling people up, because we worked with a lot of people in New York, and because of the pandemic, like I was making phone calls, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we don't even live in New York anymore." We just like, we quit. It was just too much, And a lot of people had left, or like just gotten regular jobs, or there was like no one left. So we really had to like almost pull together like an entirely new team based on like like faith, really, because there were a couple of people that we just sort of like got off of like Mandy ads, and then they ended up just being like amazing. And then
you pulled favors with people up from set.
We like pulled favors from people that I knew from set, and people that you knew, like she knows, like this amazing DP who referred us to another one.
Oh yeah, my friend Sam Levy, he was Noah Baumbach's DP for a while. So I was like, could you help us shoot this? And he said, I'm not even in the country right now, but you've got to use Connie Huang. Connie is like my first go-to choice.
Yeah.
And she was amazing.
Yeah.
So,
so having watched it, I mean, it's such a concise story for 11 minutes. Like you definitely tell like there's a budding relationship there with the children. Like, is it hard to shoot with just a small amount of time? And I assume, what made it 11 minutes versus like a 15-minute short versus maybe even a 20? Like, how did you determine that, I guess?
Money.
A lot of it had to do with money, because honestly, like I would have preferred to. We shot it over 2 days, and then I would have preferred like 3 days, and maybe it could have been 15 minutes long, but I don't even know. I feel like something that's longer than 10 to 15 minutes doesn't really serve you as far as like short films are concerned. I see people who will pull together like, "Oh, I made this short film," and they're like, "You want to watch my short film?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, how long is it?" And they're like, "It's like 43 minutes." And I'm like, "That's not, I guess that's technically a short film, but like, especially for and like, I'm gonna sound like weirdly cynical about how like I make everything, but you have to think about these things. Like when a festival is like looking at programming, and there's like a short film festival, they want to like put, like 6 movies in like a short film block. And if you've made your thing like a half an hour, 45 minutes long,
it's not gonna
and also if you like watch a movie, so many of the movies are like, each scene is like just a few pages, you know what I mean? And like no scene needs to be like so long unless there's a reason for it to be long. But it's like, like we're not shooting Dinner with Andre or something like that. It's like,
you don't need that many words.
Right. You don't need that many words. And I think like concision for like any particular scene is something that everyone should kind of strive for. Like, yeah. I mean, like, so let's say Rushmore, right? Like, we watched that recently, and there's so many different events that happened in that movie. The movie is like under 2 hours long, but it's like he goes through so many weird little like kind of adventures, and each scene is poignant, and each scene happens within 5 or 6 minutes. So it's like
very clipped down with dialogue, which is so beautiful and gorgeous. It gets to the point and it doesn't linger.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure it was conscious, but like waiting in line with the father behind her, like there was tension there, and like you built that really well, at least I thought. And it was like a minute long. It wasn't even very long, but like it was like you could really build that tension. I thought it was really cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It doesn't take much, It's because of the way the medium is you can put focus wherever you need it to be,
Also, a good director and a good DP won't yell cut. I'm a professional editor, and so many times I've had to fix people's films that weren't working, and I look in the footage and I'm like, the actor did their job. They had the space, they had the moment, they had the beats, and the editor just cut right off. Words. They didn't let it linger. And you guys did your job so well. You gave me the footage where I could actually have him just standing there staring at her, not saying a word. And I had the footage. So you put it in because it's that's what the tension is. Yeah. So
yeah, that's awesome. So the tactical side of creating a short, like you mentioned money, like getting distribution with AMC, was that hard? Was it getting published and that whole deal, like getting it to festivals? I assume it's going to festivals.
Well, the interesting thing about this, I mean, it's virtually impossible to get a short film any kind of distribution, right? You're basically just like shooting it to either throw it into festivals or you're gonna like post it on YouTube or Vimeo or something like that. And like, so to get an actual distribution deal is not, it's barely even heard of. So it's like, that's not even the goal, right?
The goal was a proof of concept.
Right. The goal was a proof of concept, and we were going to put it in festivals, but like.
So we put it on Film Freeway, and I feel like I threw darts at a map. I guess, I don't know, this one.
Well, I mean, and we also focused on like, like Asian-centric film festivals.
Yeah.
So we had like Asian American International Film Festival out of New York through Cinevision. We had Disorient. That's like a big Montreal South Asian. But what we really, basically what happened was we got into the DC Asian Pacific American Film Festival, and they're a partner, or they're sponsored by AMC, right? Which we didn't know at the time. We were just like, oh, we got into a film festival. So we went down there.
It was a great festival.
Oh, it's an amazing festival. Everyone there is really cool. They have great food and, all this stuff. And we, and then they told us, they were like, oh yeah, like AMC is a sponsor. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, great. They have a cool network sponsor. And then maybe around like December, or I don't even know if it was December. It was like January or something like that. And I got an email from one of the directors, and they basically were like, hey, so we were wanting to submit you to AMC as for like a, to get a deal with them to like do distribution, for like a short film series. And I was like,
as one of many that were
submitted. And I was like, well, of course I'm not going to say it. Like, yeah, that sounds great. But in my head, I was like,
long shot.
Like, first of all, I was like, there were many brilliant shorts in that festival. And I was like, it's nice to be thought of, you know what I mean? And then maybe like a month later, I get this email back, and they were like, hey, so they like your film. And like, we're, like, so here's a contract. And I was like, what are you talking about?
And here's like the 80 pages of deliverables. Yeah. Like, I had to put the deliverables together like that.
Oh, yeah. That was like, we're going to get into the weeds now, because it was like, we had
no time.
Get this short film, ready for like broadcast quality. And they were giving us these broadcast specs that were like, oh, I don't know if I've ever seen these before. So.
No, I usually ship it out to a finishing house.
Yeah.
So what does that entail? I'm ignorant of that piece of it. So what is that? What does it get broadcast quality? What does that mean?
The sound, the color bit, the bit depth, the color, the sound, the specs.
The frame rate.
Like we had to change it from 24 to 23.4976.
And that was a pain, because as you probably know,
the drop frame, and so I finally wrote to them, and I was like, these are broadcast specs, and we none of us little short filmmakers can afford to send it to like a finishing house, because they usually do this for you for a huge sum, a huge fee. I said, since this is the first time you're doing it streaming with low budget filmmakers, let's see what corners can we cut, because it's streaming. And I happen to know I've got stuff up on streaming networks that didn't ask for all this. So we were able to negotiate and whittle down.
Cool.
And it's like, and and I get it, because they sent us a bunch of default stuff, right? And that was like, and it was because this is like their premiere series, right? So there were just a lot of things to like iron out. So like, it's not like I'm, we're like mad at them, but it was just like we had to like figure out like, okay, what's important, what's less important, a lot of the specs were for like actual broadcast, like if you were going
like legal broadcast.
Yeah, like if you're watching it on a TV, right?
But they were so open and so good to us as far as negotiating what we could deliver to them. they're like, it's our first time doing this too.
Yeah.
So, bear with us, and, maybe this will be the new model that we work with. And we came up with something that was good for everybody, and they were amazing. They weren't, they were not hard to work with at all.
Cool.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. So just to piggyback off of, you mentioned a couple of times this was going to like a POC into a full-length film.
Mhm.
Is it too successful to do that now, or do you think it's a no-brainer to not do that now? Like, you know what I mean?
It could be even more successful. The more
Yeah.
notice it gets, the easier it is for me to be like, look, like a network liked this enough to, put it on their freaking, network for like however long. And like, that's only better. We talked to a couple of producers and our old line producer, and they were like, oh, this is good. This is very good. Because one of the things is that like, like we've mentioned it to like friends of ours who aren't in the industry, they're like, hey, we did this, blah, 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 and family. And they were like, oh, that's cool. Right. But if you talk to somebody in the industry, they're like, whoa, you got a short film on, so it's like, it's sort of like where you're, it's right now, it's more important for people who are interested in seeing if there's something that they can throw money at, So, yeah. So whoever's watching,
We got a feature script ready to go.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That is
That's
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. The short fascinate me. You can fit so much into just 11 minutes. Like Justin brought it up, but so many people, they love TV shows or they love 2 movies, but they don't really stop and think about these short films that you've done all of that within an 11-minute time frame. I think that's fantastic. If you can do it
It's
right,
so
and you
hard.
guys do it.
It's so much harder than writing a feature. I've written a ton of features, and I'm stumped on my shorts. They're so freaking hard.
It's a whole different kind of way of storytelling too. That's why I sort of start you really have to start. You have to start it in the middle of something, and you're not really worried about introducing everybody to the entire world. The world just has to kind of speak for itself. And then there's like a progression of the story, but the story doesn't have to necessarily conclude. You know what I mean? It just has to find sort of a natural lull. And then kind of the way I did it with this one was just to where it sort of ends, but it doesn't end, it just sort of like, it's just sort of stops.
It's
and then
a
you kind of imply that there's something else that's supposed to happen.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation ends when it ends. And it's very organic that way. The film ends when the conversation ends.
And the way this one ends too, it doesn't even like end, it's interrupted,
Yeah.
You guys,
Is there? That's right.
find it easy to work together? Because like you said, you're doing some editing. He's the writer. Do you find that you clash at all? Like, we should edit this out. No, I want to leave this in.
We haven't really yet.
Not really.
We love everything that each of us does.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I'm in awe of him, and every day he tells me he's in awe of me. We have notes for each other, but we do it very calmly, and you got to keep your ego out of it. And then at the end of the day, just do couple stuff and like do fun things and watch a movie or play video games or go out or something. And then when ideas come up, it's really fun because we're taking a walk and, oh, this idea just came up, and we get excited about it.
I think it helps too that like I don't always think I have great ideas. So like I'll come up with something like, is this something? I don't know. Here, let me just run it by you. And then maybe she's like, nah, like that's, I don't know if that's something, or like, here's how we can make it better.
Yeah.
And I'm open to like, whatever makes the story better. Like we did this crazy series of shorts in the Maybe Sunshine thing, and like our
series.
Yeah. And like our AD at the moment, in the moment, like came up with this great idea that was just like a quick thing that was gonna improve the scene that we were doing, that was gonna make it even funnier. And like I was like, oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the funniest scenes in that episode.
Which one?
They're like exactly the
We'll have to send you the link.
Yeah, we'll send you the link.
Please. Yeah.
Honestly, I almost think that the outtakes for that are even funnier because like, we gave him like basically like this band's being chased by the cops, and like his brother one of the brothers, who's like just this like weird hipster banjo guy, was like, "I'll distract them," and he starts like singing at them, right? And then, like, I'm gonna sing at them, like he goes, "Don't go that way," and it's a banjo, so it's like, and they just run right over him.
It didn't work.
Yeah, right. They like right through him, and he's like, "It didn't work."
So
That's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
But he couldn't.
I could talk.
So.
We could talk to you guys all day. I hope we get to reconnect again in the future because this has been fun. And
definitely.
I'm sure I can tell there's a lot more we could talk about. But where can everybody find you guys online?
So I guess if you go to lisahammer.com, it has all of the links to everything we're doing. We have a show on Amazon Prime called Great Kills, where we both use we're both camera people and we're acting in it. We're following a hitman around Staten Island.
Yeah, it's a mockumentary, so yeah.
Directed
That's
by
fun.
James Marandino directs it. He's from SLC Punk. He's the director of SLC Punk. So that's that. You'll see that on the page, and you can click on anything, and you'll link to all of the stuff we're doing.
Yeah, but you're at the Lisa Hammer
LisaHammer.com
on Insta. No, the Lisa Hammer on Instagram. I'm Levi the Wilson on Instagram. I guess I'm that on Twitter, but like, are you on Twitter anymore? I'm not. I'm barely on Twitter. I like deleted it for a second, and then I like. Sorry, X.
Sorry, Elon.
X Twitter. I'm also on Threads by default, but don't go to my Threads account because I just.
And I have to do a shout out because we my old partner from the 90s, Dame Darcy, who does a Fantagraphics comic book. She and I made a crazy weird cable access show in New York called Turn of the Century. And Night Flight Plus, I grew up watching Night Flight. Night Flight Plus just acquired it, and it's the #1 show on their platform right now, Turn of the Century. We have craziness, like crazy New York people. So we have that going on as well.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, we need to talk again. You have a lot of irons in the fire, it feels like.
Yeah.
About your future movie.
Yeah, he's almost done. He'll probably finish it today or tomorrow, the Luke and Emma feature.
Yeah, I'm just polishing the rest of the,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Everybody like, comment, subscribe. Follow us at 3 Geeks Podcast. We'll talk to you soon.